Championship as the Wild Lake Wildcats take on the Cambridge South Dorchester Vikings from Byrd Stadium in College Park, Maryland. Coverage of the Maryland 1A High School Football Championships is being brought to you by Lewis Rich, oven roasted for flavor. Well, it's a clear, beautiful day here at College Park, Maryland for the first of two games to be played for the championships. And just a gorgeous day here for football, and all the fans are starting to build. Tom Davis, your host for the play-by-play coverage this afternoon between Cambridge and Wild Lake, and joined by the physical education man from Montgomery County, Ed Massoud. It's a tradition to have you here, and welcome back to HTS.
Tom, thanks a lot. It's good to be here again on Home Team Sports for the state championship.
Let's talk a little bit about these two teams. Sort of a contrast between Cambridge and Wild Lake. Very much different in offense.
Oh, well, there's no question about it. Cambridge comes out with a run and shoot. They'll be in it 95% of the time. And their key man is number 1, Dietrich Johnson, quarterback, who leads the team in as not only an option quarterback, over 1,700 yards rushing, but also a good throwing attack.
Now, how about Wild Lake? Wild Lake apparently doesn't pass the ball too much at all.
If Doug Duval and Wild Lake had their choice, and it is their choice, they'll run at you off tackle all day long and never throw a pass. They come through a wishbone attack, and I believe in one of their qualifying games this year in the tournament, they had several hundred yards offense and not one ball thrown.
How about these two teams now, when you look at it as far as they've come so far this season now? It's got to be a lot of pride factor in both. They've really gone the distance now. Who would you have to think would be favored to win this football game?
Well, I think going on the record, they're both 11-1. Between these two schools here today, they show for their 19th appearance in the state championships. Wild Lake may have the edge in that they're the number one seed team. They do have the ground attack. They can run a ball control offense, and they are here for a three-peat, which if they do it, will be the only time since Springbrook did it in 79, 80, and 81. The edge would probably have to go to Wild Lake, but don't count Cambridge South Dorchester out. They're extremely explosive, and they can nail you with one play.
Cambridge and Wild Lake. We'll be back with the opening kickoff here from College Park, Maryland in just a moment.
People used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Just a reminder that kids who participate in high school sports tend to go a little farther than those who don't.
Wild Lake will be receiving. The ball is kicked down there and bounces around at about the 10-yard line, where Craig Butler picks it up, tries to run forward to the 15, still on his feet, and then driven back to about the 10-yard line. Ball popped a little bit loose. It was a 9-yard return, and Wild Lake will put the ball in play first down at about the 15-yard line.
Big hit on that coverage by Bernard Todd, number 19, for the Vikings.
Quarterback is Seth Willingham, number 19. Flank to the right side is Craig Butler, number 29. And that'll be a wishbone. Wild Lake with a first down at the 31-yard line. And the pitch goes to 48, Nathan Sella, running right and then driven back as he approached the 35-yard line. He was knocked down there by Mr. Johnson and also number 61, Scott Dodson, and James White, number 16.
We're going to see a lot of that play today, Tom. Wild Lake is strictly a wishbone attack, off-tackle drive. And the unique thing with Cambridge South Dorchester is that they run an even front almost all day long. They run a 4-4. Very unusual.
From the 35-yard line for Wilde Lake, it's a 2nd down and 6. The Wildcats, the long cats, line of scrimmage, Willingham turns and puts the ball to 35 Mike Green, who runs to the left side and gets knocked out at about the 37-yard line. Pickup of 2 on the play.
I'll tell you, the field is a little slick. It's been under the tarp all week, and we saw there the inability of Green to make that plant and cut.
They're actually going to call him down at the 34, where he
hit down behind
the loss of 1, so it'll be 3rd down and 7 from the 34-yard line of Wilde Lake. Although he did get past the 35, he did get touchdown at the 34-yard line. So 3rd and 7 for Wilde Lake at their own 34. Green getting the call. Across the 35 and gets up near the 37-yard line, but it'll be short of a 1st down. It'll bring up a punting situation for Wilde Lake.
And you can see that Wilde Lake's philosophy on this attack is off tackle right, off tackle left, and then come back with a cross-buck counter off the wishbone. They're trying to establish a ball control, straight drive attack without having to put the ball in the air.
Bernard Todd and also Gary Bryan, the return man, set for Cambridge inside the 35-yard line between the 30 and the 35. And here's the snap and the kick. It's an end-over-end kick coming down near the 30-yard line for Gary Bryan. Bryan running left, losing yardage on the play, back to the 25, and is ridden down at about the 23-yard line.
Eric Locke, number 54, just made an absolutely great defensive play.
34-yard punt. -7 on the return. Marty Arnolf working with us on the statistics today. We appreciate that. From the 23-yard line, it'll be 1st down for Cambridge.
I think we'll get our first look at that 95% run and shoot.
Dietrich Johnson, the quarterback, number 1. Gary Bryan, the halfback. Troy Willis, the fullback. They do the bulk part of the running, and a formation that is spread double slices to the right side. 1 back behind the quarterback, Dietrich Johnson. And on a 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line, Johnson has it down at 7. Drops back to the 15 toward right sideline. And it is caught there by C.J. Wiley, and he's going to go the distance for a 77-yard touchdown.
Well, we got to look at it, and I think we may get another look at it. It's just an unbelievable Dietrich Johnson standing in there and taking a big hit as he let the ball go. And Willie beat his man by 10 yards.
C.J. Willie with a 77-yard touchdown catch. Beautifully thrown by Dietrich Johnson. On the first offensive play for Cambridge, they go up 6-0 with 9:03 left to play in the 1st quarter.
We knew that Cambridge Dorchester had a lot of speed, but we see here there was nobody in the secondary even get close to C.J. Willie.
Seward on the point after. It's good. And there's a timeout on the field with Cambridge leading Wilde Lake by a score of 7-0 with 9 minutes and 3 seconds left to play in the 1st quarter. Now, in the suit, that play looked like they knew that something would be developing already.
These two teams have scouted each other to the point where, speaking with the coaches, I want you to know that these 1A schools are small schools. They're located at all corners of the state. These two coaching staffs average 900 miles per weekend in scouting their potential opponents from the time they hit the quarterfinals to the semifinal games.
Seward will kick off the ball from the 40-yard line. John Gibson, one of the return men for Wilde Lake. The ball tipped to the work. John Gibson backpedals inside the 5. Returns it to the 5, 10, 15, 20, straight ahead to the 25, and after we're back to the 26-yard line goes Don Gibson for Wilde Lake. So the Wildcats got a 25-yard return on that kickoff by Don Gibson. They have a 1st down at their own 27-yard.
1st down, Wilde Lake.
That was a nice deep kickoff. Gibson did the smart thing, though, to field the ball and bring it back out. That field being as soft as it is, it may have just plugged.
Wilde Lake trailing by 7, 8:45 to go in the 1st quarter. On that 77-yard touchdown pass Johnson to C.J. Willie. And an off-tackle play to the right side. A little bit of a gain there, and then driven back kind of hard was the running back who turned out to be Clarence Kelly and Mike Green.
Mike Green.
So the gain to the 30-yard line.
You know, one of the keys that Wilde Lake's going to have to do is stay with their game plan. They're not out of the ball game. It's very, very early. If they can establish ball control, move down, and get something on the board this series, they're right back in it.
Wilde Lake with a 2nd and 6 from their own 30-yard line. Willingham again with a handoff this time to Nate Casella, who runs right, gets out close to the first down yard marker, crossing the 35 out to about the 36-yard line.
I think he's going to be a little bit short.
It's going to be 3rd down and 1 from the 36-yard line for Wilde Lake. The Wildcats at a 3rd down and 1 from their own 36. I don't know whether he got it or not.
I think the initial hit and stop is going to make it short. It'll bring up 4th down and about 2 inches.
Bill Seward stopping Don Gibson, the running back for Wilde Lake.
And they might have got a good spot, Tom.
They'll bring the chains out to measure. 7:17 to play, first quarter, 7-0. It's a first down for Wilde Lake. Cambridge with a lead of 7-0 with 7:17 left to play here in the first quarter. On a 1st and 10 from the 37. This turns out to be Mike Green, who crosses the 45 and gets out close to the midfield stripe for another first down. And as Dontrell Banks came up to make the hit.
The old basic belly dive series.
Reggie Austin split wide to the left side on a 1st and 10 from the 48-yard line of Wilde Lake. They're trailing 7-0. And there's the handoff to Casella. Casella puts his head down off left tackle, gets close to the midfield stripe. Bill Seward came up to make the hit. Looks like it's going to be a gain of about 2 yards in the play. Called a gain of 1.
And number 69, Pat Johnstone, is the son of one of the assistant coaches. Art Johnstone was in on that stop. He had a bad ankle. You could see him come up limping after that last play. Hurt that in their semifinal game last week. He was doubtful. But there he is.
From the wishbone again. The pitch this time. It's fumbled by Casella at midfield. Again from the wishbone with 5:20 to play first quarter. Cambridge leading 7-0. Wilde Lake with the football, and Willingham going to pass right sideline and incomplete. It was intended for Reggie Austin. On a down and out around the 30-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd down and 18 from the 39.
One of the key things, we know that Wilde Lake doesn't put it up that often, but if they can get it to an outside man like Alston. Alston is the defending state champion in the class 1A, 2A, 100 meters. And his running back mate, number 29, Butler, is the number 2 man. So they do have a powerful speed attack.
Out of the wishbone again on a 3rd and 18 from the 39-yard line. Great fake there in the early going of the play, but then 35, Mike Green took the football, raced up to the midfield stripe, crossed it to the 49-yard line, where Ayimbi Flash made the tackle. And here's the punt, which goes to the far side of the field. Todd looking to chase it down, and they bounced off of a Cambridge player there around the 25-yard line. And Wilde Lake gains possession after it bounced. It looked like it may have bounced off the helmet.
Bounced off one of the down linemen.
So Wilde Lake gets possession of the football. Well, here's the Don Gibson they recovered.
Well, watch this. I think we see it hit number 59. His back is to the play. He's coming in to make a block, and there it hit him on the shoulder pad. Number 59. And then Green, Gibson, Don Gibson on the cover. What a big, big break for Wilde Lake after having those 2 terrible penalties and almost turning the ball over at midfield. New life at the 20. 21.
Scott Wellingham, who has attempted one pass so far in this game, turns and hands off to Mike Green, and Green loses yardage on that play. Back to tackle at the 24-yard line.
Don Twain Cornish. Originally was listed on our program here as number 63. They had a lineup change to number 68. And he's a big, big young man. He's only a junior. Goes both ways in there at right guard defensively.
Again, Wilde Lake will be operating from more than 10 yards for a first down. It's second down and 13. Ball spotted at the 24-yard line of Cambridge. 7-0 favor of Cambridge here in the first quarter. 3:24 left to play in the quarter. Wellingham on a sweep to the left side, gets inside the 20, and knocked down at about the 16-yard line. Hit on the play by Bronte Stanley, number 4. 8-yard gain on the play. It'll bring up third down and 5 for Wilde Lake.
Tom, you don't think because Wilde Lake's the number 1 seed that they have to handicap Cambridge every first down and start first and 15 instead of first and 10, do you?
Well, they've had second and 13, second and 18. They've had second and 13 on the series. Of course, they recovered a ball that bounced off of one of the punt returns. Here's the pitch to Casella. Casella dives forward inside the 15-yard line down to about the 13. He's just shy of a first down, probably by a yard or two. Casella has 4 carries for 13 yards, by the way.
And Casella is really one of the heart of their entire attack. He's just a really tough kid. Excellent ball player.
We got a 4th down and 2 now from the 13-yard line of Cambridge. Wilde Lake trailing by 7. 2:11 left to play in the first quarter. And Wellingham takes the snap, pitches to Casella, runs right, gets close to the 10, and appears to have the first down as he's knocked down at the 10-yard line. Again, Nate Casella with the run and flash with the tackle, along with Johnson.
There's Casella, senior.
7-0 favor of Cambridge. But they have a 77-yard touchdown play. Wellingham with the football gets knocked down in his own backfield by Mark Savage. Came up to make a nice hit. Loss on the play of about 2 or 3 yards. Savage is quite happy, number 26.
He's excellent. He really played that corner. He's an outside linebacker. And Mark really stayed home, played it very, very well. One of the things that's unique in high school when they play a 4-4, they're really playing a 6-2. Their outside linebackers are walk-off defensive ends.
This is the 16th play in this possession, which was interrupted for a punt that was recovered as it glanced off of an up lineman for Cambridge. Running straight ahead, Casella to the end zone for an 11-yard touchdown.
No penalty flags, and that was just the first basic delay that we've seen all day from Wilde Lake.
Casella with an 11-yard TD. Now the big key here is the Wilde Lake to convert to tie the game with 1:01 left to play in the first quarter.
Here we have just the delay handoff to Casella right up the middle, 11 yards. The only time he was touched was about 3 yards out, and he just bowled him over.
Don Gibson, a nice little nod there. He opened the whole 5.
Yeah, he did a great block on that lead isolate. And then Casella, you could see he was really determined to take that little baby across the goal line. And that came with 1:01 left in the first quarter, and then following the point after 7-7. Here we are with the Wilde Lake kickoff to the Vikings.
In case you just tuned in, we're still in the first quarter. Wilde Lake and Cambridge tied at 7. 1:01 left to play in the first quarter. Wilde Lake dressed in the green uniforms, and Cambridge in the white shirts, gold pants, and gold helmets. Floater hits it around the 25. The fielder at the 20-yard line by 19, Bernard Todd runs his way out near the 35-yard line. Bernard Todd with a nice pickup and run, 15-yard return by Bernard Todd, and he comes hobbling off the field.
Tackle made by number 7, Chance Kelly, senior defensive linebacker.
Cambridge with the first down from their own 34. And whistles blowing.
And I will have to tell you there, that was a slow whistle by the ref. In high school, you don't need to make any contact. All you do is break the neutral zone. That boy was over, back, and almost set again before they decided to blow it dead.
So an encroachment call, 5-yard mark off against the Wild Lake. So Cambridge will have first and 5.
One of the other things that's different in high school ball, Tom, too, is most of the infractions today will be stepped off the line of scrimmage, not the point of where it occurs.
Dietrich Johnson leads his team up to the line of scrimmage on a first and 5, the 39-yard line of Cambridge. Johnson with a play handoff. He handed off to Charles Watkins. Watkins was ripped down from behind, had his shirt pulled out by Nate Casella. Just scored that touchdown. So the final seconds of the first quarter, that's going to wrap up the first quarter. Last play of the first quarter, and that's going to be it. We'll come back with a second down and 6 for Cambridge from their own 39-yard line. And 1 quarter complete. Cambridge and Wild Lake tied at 7 from College Park, Maryland. Welcome back to College Park, Maryland. Tom Davis together with Ed Massoud, where Cambridge and Wild Lake tied at 7 after the first period of play here at Bird Stadium. Of course, Cambridge with an open touchdown strike of 77 yards from Dietrich Johnson to C.J. Willie. Their only offensive play virtually in the first quarter. That came with 9:03 left to play, and then they get the ball back for a couple of plays here to end the first quarter. But in between, Nate Casella with an 11-yard touchdown run for Wild Lake. The game tied at 7 as we begin the second period of play, with Cambridge now moving right to left. Johnson is being ripped down. Excellent tackle there by Wild Lake. Paul Knox was recovered from a broken arm, intercepted a pass last week, and the senior linebacker dropping Dietrich Johnson for a major loss back inside the 35-yard.
That's something, that's the first time, of course, they've only had 3 offensive plays, so it's a good time for them to run their blitz. And Knox just blew the gap and caught Johnson from behind. Big play for the Wildcats.
So a third down and 10. Ball spotted at the 34-yard line for Cambridge. Cambridge with 77 yards first down. This drop-off pass was batted at the line of scrimmage. I think Casella may have gotten a hand on it, number 48. Possibly 35. Mike Green. It's going to bring up a fourth down now for Cambridge. Punting situation.
Lord, I don't want anyone going on the football field.
Paul Knox with a reception at the 38-40, midfield, down the sideline, and ridden out of bounds to the far side of the field, inside the 50-yard line, somewhere around the 47 or 46-yard line. So Wild Lake has possession, the first down in Cambridge territory, and so they get their first offensive series here in the second quarter. 30-yard punt and an 18-yard return by Paul Knox.
That was just a good return, and you know, saw a little bit after that play where Knox is pumped up, to say the least. You know, Wild Lake really wants the three-peat. Only one other team has done it in the history of the state tournament.
Early stages of the second quarter with the game tied at 7 between Cambridge and Wild Lake. Tom Davis and Ed Massoud here out of the wishbone, and we see Don Gibson taking the handoff and then getting driven back to about the midfield stripe after he made penetration down to about the 47-yard line.
And Dontrell Banks, number 59, made the initial hit. And guess he's the one that inadvertently had the ball bounce up and hit him on the shoulder pad. I know it feels a lot better now.
No gain on the play. Second down and 10 for Wild Lake at the 48-yard line of Cambridge. 10:38 to play, first half. Again from the wishbone. We're going to see a lot of that from the Wildcats today. And the pitch to the right side goes to Casella, and he gets driven out of bounds at the 30-yard line. Ridden out there by Bronte Stanley. 20-yard pickup and a first down for Wild Lake.
Boy, that play was just well executed by Willingham. Fakes the handoff into the line, carries it out makes Dietrich Johnson, the end commit, and then at the absolute correct moment, pitched to Casellas, who turned it up the sideline.
The Wildcats with the football in the first down. Handoff went to the second man. Turned out to be Casella. Casella gets knocked back to about the 32-yard line.
That was a big hit again. The initial contact made by Don Twain Cornish, number 68. And then he was finished off with Scott Dodson, number 61.
Caught a loss of a yard. Second down 11 for Wilde Lake. Just inside the 10-minute mark of the first half. Game tied at 7. And again, Reggie Austin split wide to the far side of the field on a 2nd and 11. Seth Willingham with a long count. Play fake. Throwing right side. It's tipped up in the air by Cambridge. Number 3, Flash. Flipped the ball away.
Allende, Flash.
Pass was intended for the big tight end.
Yeah, I believe it was intended for, well, have 81 down there. We don't have him on our roster.
There's a couple of guys I've noticed already. We don't have.
Well, you know, one of the things in these state championship games was funny. Doug Duvall told me in the scouting, look out for number 34 from Cambridge. Well, they didn't have a 34. And either Doug was jerking my chain or Doug Fleetwood was jerking his chain.
Wellingham is 0 for 2 in the passing department. He has a 3rd and 11 to work from now. Drops back to his 35, throwing left side. Deep and intercepted. Picked off by 15, Wallace Thompson.
Out of bounds.
Thompson out of bounds at the 6-yard line, so it's going to be Cambridge's football at their own 6-yard line with 9:34 to play in the first half. And Wilde Lake and Cambridge tied at 7.
Here we have Willingham back. You notice that he throws that ball somewhat like a catcher down the second base. He gets it back at the ear and then flicks it out.
9:34 left to play first half. Game tied at 7. And back to pass goes Johnson throwing deep down the middle of the field and incomplete, but a penalty marker is dropped.
Big rush that time by Wilde Lake. I think Doug was very successful. Doug Duvall seemed to be successful and confident in putting a little heat on that passer in the last series that Cambridge had the ball. And I know he said that he had to keep pressure on him as one of the keys to him being successful, not giving him time to throw.
I think the pass was intended for Chris Sawyer. A couple of penalty markers. Could it be offsetting penalty?
Should be. Evidently, there was one downfield. I'm going to say that the first one was a procedure, and the second one was a bumping beyond the 5-yard line.
C.J. Willing split wide to the right side on a 1st and 10 from the 6-yard line for Cambridge. Vikings scoring first, but being tied with Wilde Lake. Inside handoff there.
Big play there by 58 on defense.
Jory Willis carrying that football straight ahead out to the 8-yard line.
And Andy Vanderwagen, junior defensive tackle. Let me tell you, these two teams are a little bit loaded with juniors. Cambridge South Dorchester is starting 3 seniors today. And there are 6 juniors starting for Wilde Lake.
Wallace Thompson split wide to the left side. C.J. Willie wide to the right. 2nd and 8 on the 8-yard line. Johnson throwing the left side. Completing the football. 22, Tyrone Murray. And Murray runs all the way out to the 21-yard line for a pick of a 13 and a first down for Cambridge.
Super play there.
Excuse me, it was Hayward Bryant. 32, not 22.
There's just a slight half sprint on a crossing pattern to number 32, Bryant. And of course, Gibson on the coverage, but he picked up about 16 yards. Well, maybe a little more.
Johnson's 2 for 3 for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. The 77-yarders to C.J. Willis. 1st and 10 from the 21-yard line for Cambridge. Johnson throwing right side. Looked like it was intended for number 6, Chris Sawyer, but it was overthrown. Another receiver was in that general vicinity out around the 35-yard line, but incomplete. 2nd down and 10 from the 21 for Cambridge.
And good pressure that time from the inside lineman. You know, the inside linemen of Wilde Lake are getting into that backfield. And if they can keep that heat up, that's going to help them a lot because the secondary men can stay back on pass protection. If they get that pressure from this 5 5 defense. The rest of the day, they'll stay in the ball game, keep it close.
The pitch goes to Torrey Willis, sweeping the right side to the 25, still on his feet, near the 28-yard line. Torrey Willis is tackled after a gain of 7 on the play.
He's brought down by Paul Knox and help with Andy Vanderwagen. But again, he broke 3 tackles in the backfield. Still was able to turn it up.
Torrey Willis, 20 touchdowns this season, rushed for over 1,400 yards coming into this game.
Well, that means that just between him and Dietrich Johnson, they have over 3,000 yards rushing.
7:45 left to play in the first half. Wilde Lake and Cambridge tied at 7. Tom Davis and Ed Massoud here on HTM. Davis with the football, and there's movement on that line, and penalty markers are being dropped all over the place.
I think they have the motion man coming upfield too soon. No, we have defense. Penetration in the neutral zone. It'll be interesting to see if they go to Bryan this time, who's their H-back.
Dietrich Johnson with a long catch. Inside handoff right down the chute, crossing the 35 and out to the 37-yard line. Torrey Willis before he is knocked down. Torrey Willis getting the carry. Nate Casella making the tackle. It's a gain of 4 yards on the play. It'll bring up 2nd down and 6 for Cambridge.
Again, Andy Vanderwagen on the tackle. He's been on quite a few so far today.
Wallace Thompson split wide to the right. On a 2nd down and 4. Johnson with the pass, rolling right from the 30, lofting the pass down the right sideline, and almost caught inside the 30-yard line. It was intended for Ollie Jones, number 8, the flanker on that side, but just couldn't get stretched out far enough to try to receive that pass from Dietrich Johnson, who threw under a little bit of pressure.
A lot of pressure from Mike Green, number 35. It hits him as the ball releases. It looked like we had a little touching out there. Here's the pressure again, both from Casellas and Green. And they did have his left hand hooked as he was releasing the ball with the right hand, which took a little bit off the ball. But Jones was down there, could have made that catch.
This is the Division 1A championship from Byrd Stadium, College Park on HTS. Tom Davis together with Ed Massoud, 6:26 to play first half. Wilde Lake and Cambridge, the 7-5. Back to pass, Dietrich Johnson. Flips it out to Torrey Willis. Willis to the 40, 45. Midfield and a penalty marker down. Willis has 1st down yardage, but we'll have to wait for the penalty marker to be described.
Well, you know, I'm going to have to say right now that their tendency at Cambridge South Dorchester has been when they've got 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. 2 times now they've had that situation, and both times they've come up with a throw backside screen, and here we have a holding penalty on the play. We have Dietrich Johnson going back to show a setup to the right, and then he throws back on the left side. Gets some good blocks, but the flip call was out of the view of the camera, totally away from the play. I know that's one of the plays that just drives coaches up the wall.
Torrey Willis, the lone setback behind quarterback Dietrich Johnson on a 3rd and 4 from the 39-yard line for Cambridge. Johnson rolls to the right, flips it out to the right side, completes the pass to Gary Bryan, who has the 1st down out at the 45-yard line. A 6-yard gain and a 1st down for Cambridge.
And that's the play I was looking for 2 plays ago. They have to get Gary Bryan into the action. And here Dietrich Johnson rolls to the right, flips it out to the H-back, who comes out of the slot formation in the run and shoot, and he gets yardage enough for the 1st down.
6 minutes left to play, first half, and again, Wilde Lake and Cambridge tied at 7. Cambridge with the football and a 1st down from their own 45-yard line. They have a 77-yard touchdown pass to C.J. Willie on their first offensive play. Dietrich Johnson under pressure, gets ridden down at about the 37-yard line. Good pressure there by the defensive line of Wilde Lake, led by Eric Black and also Albert Sasso.
Here we have again penetration on Locke, just straight up the middle, but Green puts the big key, then the hit by Locke, and then number 20 comes in to finish him off. Albert Sasso. There's a lot of pressure for almost 7.5 yard loss.
Second down, 17.
Well, we have some good stats there. 84 for 192, 1,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, and ran for 7 TDs.
Second sack for Wilde Lake. The screen to Torrey Willis left side, and he's ridden down at the 40-yard line by number 5, Don Gibson. A gain of only 2 on the play.
Don Gibson's played a well the game so far. Defense. He's covered sideline to sideline. Senior linebacker, also fullback.
Third down and 15. Johnson trapped behind the line of scrimmage at about the 37-yard line. Excellent coverage there by Albert Sasso, number 20.
Casellas.
Dietrich Johnson.
And Casellas and Locke again with Sasso.
Same 3 as on the 2 plays previous.
They've lined up all game in a 5. That time they were in a slight overshift, an Eagle 5, where they actually had an even front. They had 4 men, and they blew the gap. And that enabled them to get in and get at the feet of Johnson before he was able to get rid of the ball. That was just a tremendous defensive series for Wilde Lake.
4th and 22 from the 32. Wilde Lake now has 3 sacks, good for 18 yards.
Need to have a little bit more protection on that line from Cambridge, South Dorchester. They need to give Johnson a little more time.
3:50 to play in the first half. 7-7 tie between Cambridge and Wilde Lake. Here's the punt. This is a spiral. Wilde Lake makes a catch there at the 35-yard line. Casella for the midfield stripe and ridden out of bounds to the 47-yard line. It's going to be excellent field position for Wilde Lake. 33-yard punt and a 17-yard return by Nate Casella. And Wilde Lake has possession with 3:38 to play here in the first half in a game that is tied at 7.
You know, when I spoke with the coaches, Tom, one of my keys was how do you guys rate each other's special teams? They said there are no gimmies. It's almost dead even. Both special teams have performed really well this year, and I think if they can hold up, that really won't be a factor.
Well, they both came in with an 11-1 mark, and they're tied at 7 with 3:38 to play in the first half. Wilde Lake out of the wishbone with the football. Casella to the 48-yard line. Casella, of course, had the 11-yard touchdown run for the only score for Wilde Lake, and he picks up the quick 4. It'll bring up second down and 6 from the 45-yard line.
I'll bet he carries it more than 18 times today.
Casella has 9 carries for 50 yards on the afternoon so far. Marty Aronoff doing a fabulous job with his statistics. Wouldn't be able to do this telecast without him. Thank you, Marty. Wilde Lake with possession. A 7-7 game with less than 3 minutes to play in the first half. Casella, left side run. Knocked down at the 47-yard line. Knocked down there by 23. Bill Seward came right over top of Nick Casella.
Yeah, Bill Seward played that really well. And he's got a younger brother on this team as well. John Seward is a sophomore guard. Probably won't see a lot of action. But that was an off-tackle left sweep play that went dead into the 4-4 stack on the right side of the defense.
In Cambridge territory at the 46. Wilde Lake with a football on the 3rd down and 7. Seth Willingham, the quarterback. It's a long count. This is his 3rd pass, throwing right side, making his first completion. It's to Craig Butler, and Butler's still on his feet at the 30, and driven back to the 35-yard line. 16-yard gain, first down for Wilde Lake, with 1:54 to play in the first half.
And 7 white shirts on the tackle. Took 4 to bring him down. And as you said earlier, Butler is the number 2 speed man in the state 1A, 2A. He was runner-up to his teammate. Here's Willingham back to pass. And again, he spots Butler, who just caught a seam in that zone. And then you see the white shirts close down on it. And Butler kept those feet moving.
Motion from Casella. The pitch goes to the Green. 30, 25, 20, 15. Mike Green taken down just shy of the 10-yard line. Another first down for Wilde Lake. On the sweep to the right side, Mike Green gains 19 yards.
That was just a super pitch play by Willingham to Green. Here we'll see it. Reverse pivot away from the action. A good underhand lateral toss. Nice spiral. Watch Green's cut back there on a nice block. Try to pick up that number. Mike Green, running back. The block was John Suddeth.
Willingham has his team with a first down and 10 at the 12-yard line. Green gets the carry and gets to the 10-yard line. He's ridden down there by 23. That turns out to be Bill Seward again.
And I think we're going to see some timeouts pretty soon here with Wilde Lake.
1:07 to play in the first half.
You can almost feel the momentum shift off that last defensive series when they were able to hold the Vikings, then get the ball on that punt and move it downfield. You can almost feel a score.
You see in the right corner of your screen, less than a minute to play in the first half. 2nd and 8 for Wilde Lake. Willingham with the pitch. Casella ridden out of bounds at the 8-yard line.
It's almost as good as a timeout, but I'm sure they'd like to have more yardage.
Dietrich Johnson, the quarterback, on offense, playing defensive back on defense, came up to make the hit.
Let me tell you on Dietrich Johnson, this young man has a 3.3 grade point average. Not only as quarterback, he's outside linebacker. He's being looked at by the University of Maryland, Rutgers, and North Carolina. So he's a good student athlete, good athlete.
See Craig Butler split wide to the left side on a 3rd down and 6 now for Wilde Lake. 40 seconds to play first half. In motion from Mike Green to the far side. Willingham throwing the left side and completing his pass to Casella at the 10 and taken down right about at the 9 or 8-yard line. Nate Casella.
Got to call a timeout here.
Looks like one of the tacklers was Wallace Thompson.
Yeah, number 15. Matter of fact, I thought for a minute he had a shot at making the interception. How he was able to go up and try to intercept the ball, come back down, and still be out on the play. Here we have Willingham again, dropping back. Nothing fancy. Oh, one ball was tipped.
Kind of interesting now, Ed, with 25 seconds to play in the first half, 4th down 6. Ball spotted at the 8-yard line. What's the call here?
Well, the call here is you got to throw it into the end zone.
I want to go for the field goal.
Well, I don't know that these two teams have kickers that are capable enough. Billy Seward, number 23, is their kicker, their point after, and also the field goal attempt man. His range is not real great.
It's not much more than a point after.
Yeah, I'd have Willingham do it again. He made his point after from the 35-yard line.
Why not?
So. But again, it's high school. We'll see what they do.
Wilde Lake has converted its only 4th down situation. And again, Willingham will attempt a field goal from the 15, so it'll be a 25-yard attempt. Casella with a ball down. Willingham end over end. It's good. 22 seconds to play first half. Wildcats from Columbia have taken over the lead, 10-7. Wilde Lake Wildcats from Howard County, Columbia, Maryland, leading now. Cambridge 10-7 with 22 seconds left to play in the first half.
Just a low driving kick. Didn't make it through.
I mean, I thought you made a good point there when he made all those extra points.
Yeah.
And they kept backing him out. Why not take a shot at it instead of coming away with absolutely nothing?
Well, and again, didn't feel there was some kind of a score in the air. Just had a feeling, a sense of momentum shifting. Cambridge South Dorchester, really, they're not out of this game. I mean, they are, one play, 77 yards. And the big play, one of the other keys that Coach Duvall was worried about is protecting any long returns on punts as well as kickoffs. Because Cambridge overall team speed is much, much better than Wilde Lake's team speed.
The Wildcats kicking off now to Cambridge at the 15-yard line, running forward all the way out to the 32-yard line. Let's see, I don't know who picked up the football. Looks like number 19 it is. Bernard Todd running the football out to the 32-yard line. 17 seconds left to play after a 17-yard return. Johnson to pass, sets at the 25 with pressure coming, gets taken down for the 4th time in this game, and he's been sacked 3 times in the last 2 series. And Nate Casella, again, right around the football, taking down Dietrich Johnson. Just 4 seconds left to play here in the first half, and you can see that Casella has done a job offensively and defensively for Wilde Lake.
Yeah, and one of the things now, here we have Casella, the outside linebacker and running back. The play, Johnson looked as though it was going to be clean because he got a good screen block, but when he stepped up, there was just no way he could get away from Casella. He evaded both Locke and Green, and Casella was right in on that tackle. He's just a tough ball player. Going both ways.
This should be the final play of the first half.
I think we have a prevent defense if they can get a pan back at that secondary at all. You get the front line up at the line of scrimmage. Then you have a 4 deep, 25 yards downfield, and then a single safety back another 10 yards behind that.
That turns out to be Don Gibson. I thought he was in a punt return formation. That's going to be the last play of the first half. The clock runs out. I'll tell you what, Dietrich Johnson has been beaten up a little bit here in the first half. Torrey Willis got the call on that play, and Casella with another tackle.
They're going to have to give Casella a Cambridge shirt, so he's in their backfield more than their backs are.
Well, it's been an interesting first half, very interesting first half, as Wilde Lake leads Cambridge by a score of 10-7 at halftime here in the Division 1A Championship at College Park at Byrd Stadium. We'll be back with more in a moment. Wilde Lake in white shirts, gold pants and gold helmets, and the green of the Wilde Lake coming downfield now for the opening kickoff. Turns out to be 32. Gary Bryan returning the football for Cambridge out beyond the 35-yard line. 25-yard return. Bryan will go into the huddle along with Dietrich Johnson and Bonte Stanley.
That was Albert Sasso on the tackle, and we called his name quite a bit near the end of that first half.
He was in on several of the sacks of Dietrich Johnson. I think he was dropped 4 times during the first half. Just underway, start of the third quarter. Wilde Lake leading Cambridge 10-7. Dietrich Johnson has his team up to the line of scrimmage on a first down and 10 from the 38-yard line. What a mess there at the 34.
It looks like it's going to be white ball.
Everybody diving for the football. Dietrich Johnson, the quarterback, was able to recover.
I think he wanted to pitch before he had the handle. Here you can see he pulls out. He never really had it. Never really had it. I hope he's really not thinking about all the pressure he got at the end of the first half.
Maybe a little shell shock, though. 4 sacks and now fumbling on the first play.
Inside shuffle pass.
It didn't work at all. Loss of the play all the way back to the 30-yard line. Shovel pass went to Gary Bryan.
Again, he was the H-back coming out of the slot formation, but Albert Sasso was there in the backfield to meet him.
Another loss on the play of 2 more yards. Third down and 17.
You almost think they need to have a shotgun formation to get the ball back to him faster.
Monte Stanley wide to the left side. Double flankers to the right. Dietrich Johnson drops back to pass on third down. And again, trying to get it away. Could not. Casella may have tipped the ball 48.
And again, those same 3 numbers. Sasso 20, Casella 48, and Green 35 in with extreme pressure. No sooner does he turn to make the throw than he is just swarmed under by the Wildcats. He puts it at 4th and a bunch.
Tell you what, that's the way they're going to play starting the second half there. They could be in a little bit of trouble, Cambridge.
Definitely going to be a flag on this play.
Retreating all the way back is Paul Knox. The penalty marker down at the 22-yard line where the kicker is down on the field. Knox is also knocked down.
And we have one of the defensive players, Don Gibson, down on the field at the point where the punt occurred. I think he got nailed by one of his own men.
50-yard punt, 4-yard return, but the penalty marker's at the 22-yard line of Cambridge.
Here we have the injured player, Don Gibson. I think that's going to come back Now, whether or not we have, you'll be able to see with C.J. Willie back in punt formation. He gets the punt off cleanly, but then Gibson and it looks like Green, Mike Green, 35, collide. And Gibson is very, very slow getting up, being helped up. And again, if we go from the line of scrimmage, I don't know that they'll have enough for a first down.
Well, they needed 17 yards.
This will be worth 15. At least they'll pick up some field position and probably re-kick it with a 4th and 2.
Ball should come out to around the 47-yard line.
And it is a first down.
From the 47-yard line, first down for Cambridge. They get a big break. No doubt about that.
We've had a big break on each team on a punt play.
Dietrich Johnson takes the snap, rolls left. Completing the pass to 32. Gary Bryant. He's ridden out of bounds inside the 50-yard line at about the 48. Gain of 5 on the play. It'll bring up second down and 5 for Cambridge. Tyrone Hayward on the hit.
And when I spoke with Coach Fleetwood the other day, Tom, he indicated his bread and butter play is he's got to get that ball from Johnston to Bryant, that H-back slot.
Second and 4 for Cambridge. From the 47-yard line of Wilde Lake. Wilde Lake leading 10-7. Dietrich Johnson misses the snap and fumbled it, but it looks like he recovered it there at about the 49-yard line. It's 2 snaps that he has fumbled here in the second half.
And, of course, covering him up was his left offensive tackle, number 50, Eric Mazarakia.
Calling third down and 6 now from the 49-yard line of Wilde Lake. Cambridge with the football. They're trailing 10-7 with 9:13 to play in the third quarter. Johnson rolls right, throws, and it's too much for the intended receiver, C.J. Willie, who caught a 77-yard touchdown pass on the first offensive play for Cambridge in the first quarter.
It seems to me if he had thrown that ball upfield, they'd have had another touchdown. There was nobody behind that last defender.
4th down and 6, and a punting situation now for Cambridge. Wilde Lake sends Casella and Paul Knox to return inside the 20-yard line, and here's the punt. And it's blocked by 54. Eric Locke blocked the punt attempt.
Well, we could see that coming the last time because they weren't very far from getting the ball when they did rough the kicker. And this time the penetration just straight up the middle. That's where they've been getting in on Johnston all day long, on Dietrich Johnson. Now they've gotten in on the punter, C.J. Willie, twice. There's Eric Locke, the senior guard, also plays defensive tackle. He's had a whale of a game so far.
Cambridge 33, 1st and 10 for Wilde Lake with 9:01 left to play in the third quarter. Wilde Lake leading 10-7. And from the bone, Mike Green to the 30-yard line. Mike Green picks up 3. It'll be second down and 7. Tackle coverage, tackle credit by Scott Dodson,
number 61.
In case you tuned in a little bit late, Cambridge got on the scoreboard. 9:03 left to play in the first quarter on a Dietrich Johnson to C.J. Willie 77-yard touchdown play. After that, Cambridge has been shut out since then. Wilde Lake with a field goal closing seconds of the first half. Here's Casella running right, trying to get outside 30, 25, 20, and taken down inside the 15-yard line by Dietrich Johnson. 18-yard gain and a first down for Wilde Lake's Nate Casella.
Now that field was a little slick before the game. Here we have the play. You'll see it. He does get a good play, but he gets a nice little slide block. He's able to make the move to the outside, and then as he turns the corner, it's his determination against Johnson. And of course, the old sideline that never missed a tackle yet, the only thing that stopped it.
Casella, 74 yards and a touchdown run of 11 of those 12 rushes. On the wishbone, from the 14-yard line, trying to get outside is Mike Green. Green taken down at about the 12-yard line by Clash. Allende Clash.
He's played a super ball game so far. He's able to come up. You almost have him isolated. 26 forced to play back in. Clash was in, make the shoestring tackle.
Both of these teams with 11 wins and 1 loss to start this Division 1A championship game. 10-7, Wilde Lake with 7:25 to play, third quarter. From the wishbone. The pitch goes to Casella, and he's ridden out of bounds at about the 9-yard line. Bill Seward took down Nate Casella.
Just a good play off the straight option. Almost looks like we're watching Nebraska or Oklahoma here. Willingham just rides it down the line to the point where he makes the defensive corner, in this situation outside linebacker, commit, and then he pitches to Casella. Casella turns it up and gets whatever he can. 2 or 3 yards at a time.
Casella has 77 yards rushing on 13 carries.
Coach Duvall looking on with a lot of interest.
Wilde Lake has converted 2 of 6 third down situations. They've got a 3rd and 5 right now. Handoff goes to Mike Green, who stood up at about the 6-yard line and ridden down. Wallace Thompson, together with Bronte Stanley, making the hit for Cambridge.
That almost looked as though the same play as the one Casella scored on earlier. Mike Green, so far this year, have 132 rushes, 936 yards, and 13 touchdowns.
4th down and 2 now for Wilde Lake. Ball spotted at the 6-yard line of Cambridge. Wilde Lake leading 10-7. 5:54 to play, third quarter. Touchdown, Wilde Lake, as the quarterback Seth Willingham goes into the end zone on a 6-yard run, sweeping the left side. 16-7, Wilde Lake with 5:48 to play in the third.
I guess that's the quarterback's dream on an option. You just read everybody down the line, pretend as though you're going to... Here he comes with the straight pivot, fake handoff on the dive, carry it down. He has a pitch man available to the outside, but he didn't need him. Never got touched until he crossed the goal line. Puts the Wildcats on top, 16-7.
Seth Willingham has done it with a field goal. Also, a point after. He gets his shot at a second point after. He's also run the ball in from 6 yards out. And the point after is good. 17-7. Wilde Lake with 5:48 to play in the third. Not a bad effort by Seth Willingham in this game. 6-yard touchdown run. He's also kicked 2 extra points and 1 field goal.
Real key, here it is again. He fakes a dive off on the option, has his pitch man Green trailing to the outside, but look at that hole, Tom. There wasn't a white shirt within 4 yards of him when he made the cut to turn it upfield, so he crossed the goal line.
And it came on a 4th and 2 from the 6-yard line. 33-yard drive, 6 plays.
But I think the real key was getting the ball after the block punt.
Took 3:13 to consummate. At the 25-yard line, pitch back down at the 30-yard line.
It's that same number. Look at that number. Number 20, Albert Sasso.
32 got the pitch back. Gary Bryan got a little rolling start, but was quickly cut down by Albert Sasso at the 35-yard, make that the 30-yard line. So it's going to be a first down for Cambridge.
Albert may well be one of the smallest guys on the field. There, Bryan received the pitch, and Sasso just knifes in underneath to make the tackle.
Run and shoot offense for Cambridge. They're trailing now by 10, 17-7. Johnson throwing left side, overthrown, intended for Bronte Stanley. Bronte Stanley had to try to leap up in the air, but couldn't bring the football down. And good the coverage by 29. Craig Butler was a little upset that he couldn't get up high enough to intercept.
Yeah. Of course, Craig's a senior, wide receiver, cornerback. Also runs track in the spring.
From the 30-yard line, Cambridge with a football and a second down and 10. They're trailing 17-7 with 5:20 to play in the third period from Byrd Stadium in College Park. Division 1A championship. A lot of contact made. Penalty markers coming from every angle. I can count 4 flags on the field right now.
Yeah, the only guy that didn't throw one was the back judge.
He couldn't get it out.
He couldn't get out fast enough. Here we have again, it's the offensive right guard. Goes a little bit early. Of course, that creates a lot of other movement.
It's like Kyle Reagan, number 58.
Probably Don Twain Cornish,
Okay.
number 68.
All right, second down and 15 from the 25-yard line for Cambridge. John. Holy wow. They looked like they were trying to draw a draw.
I'm going to tell you, the Wilde Lake defensive line since the middle of the second quarter has done nothing but just pressure.
Andy Vanderwagen taken down by Torrey Willis. Torrey Willis with a run, and Andy Vanderwagen cut him down as soon as he got the football. Third down 19 now for Cambridge. Ball spotted at the 21-yard line to the right flat for C.J. Willie. Now he flips it downfield incomplete for Chris Sawyer.
We don't have any flags, I don't believe.
Good coverage on the play by 16, Sean Dunford for Wilde Lake.
Of course, once that ball's up in the air, it's property of either the offense or the defense.
Cambridge has got a fourth down now, in a punting situation, 4th and 19.
Seems like they had to go to a little razzle-dazzle early.
Cambridge has had its problems here in the second half, trying to move the football. Here's the punt, nice spiral. Casella makes a catch at the 35, runs to the near side, 40. Head on at the 44-yard line, and knocked down was Nate Casella. 44-yard punt, 8-yard return. Wilde Lake gets the football with 4:24 left to play in the third, and the Wildcats leading the Vikings from Cambridge 17-7.
I'll tell you, you can give me a whole bunch of Nate Casellas, and I'll put him on the ball field. That kid is tough. He got by the first two tacklers. They had hands on him. They just couldn't bring him down.
Wilde Lake out of the wishbone. Casella running right side, close to the midfield stripe. Pick up a 4 on the play, second down and 6. Nate Casella gets a lot of the work today for Wilde Lake.
I'll tell you, the amazing thing, this offensive line for Wilde Lake, they did some fierce blocking on the backside. I mean, not even in the direction where the ball's going. They're blowing guys off the line, out of the hole, clearly away from the point of attack. It just looks like they're having fun.
Casella with 83 yards on 14 carries. It's a second down and 5 now for Wilde Lake. Ball spotted at the 49-yard line. Their own 49. Mike Green gets taken down to the line of scrimmage by 26. Mark Savage. No gain on the play.
That was a good play by Mark Savage also to come in, close down the corner, get penetration into the backfield, and stop the play. It's what Cambridge South Dorchester's defense, I think this series is going to have to pick it up a notch so they can help that offense move the ball down the field.
From the Wilde Lake 49-yard line, they have a third down and 5. You see Craig Butler running wide to the right side there, top of the screen. Willingham drops back to his own 40, throws right side and completes the pass to Butler inside the 45-yard line to the 40. Butler with the catch, and then he stopped. The penalty marker down on the field at the 47-yard line. 47-yard line of Wilde Lake.
Tom, that was one of the few times where Wilde Lake came out, broke the wishbone, went to the pro set with a split backfield, and then had the throw-out pass that was complete. Butler was wide open. It's too bad they're holding on the play to bring it all back. Now, Coach Duvall is definitely in control here. He wants that sideline cleared, folks. Those boys on the bench better not argue. He's a big man.
This is going to be a long walk-off.
Again, we bring it back to the point of the infraction. That really hurt. I think that would have been enough for a first down. There's the three-peat sign. What Wilde Lake Wildcats are hoping to do.
3rd and 16 from the 38-yard line for Wilde Lake. And off to Casella, running straight ahead, crosses the 40 and then shoved back. At best, a 3-yard gain. It'll bring up 4th down in a punting situation for Wilde Lake.
And good penetration that time by Scott Dodson, 61, and Pat Johnstone. And helping out also was Mark Savage.
Bernard Todd and also Gary Bryan, the return men for Cambridge. Wilde Lake will punt. Ball hits the 30, comes up on a nice hop for Gary Bryan. Bryan takes down, fumbles the football. Everybody's diving in.
Help, it's Green.
Wilde Lake has the football at the 20-yard line.
And they better patent that play. That's 2 in a row.
Wilde Lake with a 17-7 lead. 1:38 to play in the 3rd, and they just recover the fumble.
Here we have Gary Bryan again. He's trying to make a move. Gets dragged by the shirt. We have the big chase after the ball. And again, Wilde Lake comes up with a football very, very deep inside at the, I guess, the 19-yard line.
Jay Green with the recovery. Second time that Cambridge has fumbled a punt. Casella slips down inside the 20-yard line.
Well, we had the one block punt, which gave Wilde Lake excellent field position at the start of the 3rd quarter, which enabled them to go in with the touchdown with Willingham. Now we have the fumble after the change of possession on the punt, recovered by Wilde Lake.
50 seconds to play 3rd quarter. Wilde Lake leads Cambridge 17-7. Wilde Lake with the football after the fumble, the punt, or the rough punt. Mike Green gets hit dead on. Tremendous hit there at the line of scrimmage.
That's Scott Dodson. He's really played a tremendous ball game inside on that line. Scott carries a 3.2 grade point average.
He's a senior.
Excellent. He's really played a super game. Here we have Willingham again. There's Green and there's Dodson.
It was East meeting West.
And size beats speed.
Coming down to the final 10 seconds of the 3rd period. Wilde Lake with its final play of the period on 3rd and 10. Willingham to pass. Steps up, fires, and it's incomplete. Pass was intended for Mike Green at the 12-yard line, and that's the final play of the 3rd quarter. 3 quarters complete. And Wilde Lake continues to lead Cambridge by a score of 17-7 after leading 10-7 at halftime. We'll be back with the start of the 4th quarter of the Division 1A Championship from Byrd Stadium in College Park after these messages. Welcome back. Final quarter of play here for the Division 1A Championship. Tom Davis together with Ed Massoud here on HTS. Wilde Lake with the football, 4th and 10. Ball spotted at the 20-yard line of Cambridge. And Willingham wanting to throw on 4th and 10. Cannot get the pass away. In fact, fumbled the football forward to the 20-yard line where it's recovered there. But Cambridge will take over on down. Ball covered by Johnson. Johnson got to the quarterback, Willingham, and now it's going to be Cambridge's football.
We have the Vikings on offense.
From their own 20, first down for Cambridge. They're trailing 17-7. And Deke Johnson being pursued by Casella and brought down as he threw the football forward. Is it an incomplete forward pass? Incomplete forward pass.
Yeah, there was a receiver within the vicinity. I mean, it really looked like intentional grounding, but number 6 was there. You'll be able to see that Casella beats the man, tries to outside contain, swings around, Remember, there's no in the grasp in high school. Number 6 is an eligible receiver, so he's able to beat the big 10-yard loss.
Wilde Lake has 164 yards compared to 98 for Cambridge for the game. Wilde Lake also has possession for 23.5 minutes compared to 12.5 minutes for Cambridge through 3 quarters. Second down and 10 from the 20.
Boy, Albert Sasso again.
Torrey Willis was the ball carrier, and Sasso did the knocking down once again. No gain on the play. It'll be third down and 10.
Now, Torrey Willis has been amazing. We haven't called his name since the, I don't believe, since the first quarter.
Willis has 7 attempts and just 7 yards rushing. That is a big, big factor in the way Wilde Lake has been able to play this game defensively against Cambridge. Third and 10. Cambridge trailing by 10 points with 10:46 to play. Dietrich Johnson throwing downfield and did not get it to the intended receiver, Gary Bryan. He was trying to throw to him out around the 45-yard line, but the ball was short. So it's going to be fourth down and 10 in a punting situation for Cambridge from their own 20-yard line.
Wilde Lake has basically abandoned the 5-2, and they've become a 7-2-2. They've just they've blown 7 people in, put the pressure on Johnson, not enable him to get the ball off, and he's playing it too deep.
With the punt. Hits at the 50. Wilde Lake turns the corner, 50, and then ridden out of bounds shy of the 45-yard line of Cambridge. Kind of an interesting note here. Dietrich Johnson, after a good 5 for 8 start, including a 77-yard touchdown pass, is now 7 of 15, and he's been under pressure a lot after the first quarter.
Yeah, many of those passes have just been flats into the almost 2. One was a throwback screen, and a couple others were in the flat. One was even a lateral.
Ball spotted at the 49-yard line of Cambridge. First and 10 for Wilde Lake. 10:30 to go in the game. 17-7 favor of the Wilde Lake Wildcats. And Casella running to the right, picked up 2, and then was driven back into his own territory.
I'll tell you, this may be a 1A championship game, but those are 5A hits going on out there now.
Dietrich Johnson, the quarterback, playing safety and cornerback, and the defensive backfield of Cambridge was able to come up and make the hit.
And Fred Thompson, that we just saw there on the screen, is a tight end defensive player. It's a sophomore.
Reggie Austin split wide to the top of the screen, and second down and 8 now. Willingham trying to find some running room. Falls forward to the 45-yard line. He made a loss into a gain to the 45-yard line as Dontrell Banks was able to bring down Seth Willingham at the 45-yard line. Called a gain of 2 on the play, and it'll be third down and 6.
There's off of the straight pivot turn. Looks like he wants to dish, and I think the other guys slowed up. The defense is slowing up, thinking that each of their other teammates is making the tackle instead of continuing to swarm on him and get 2 or 3 shirts on the ball carrier.
Some confusion now as to who should be on field. 69 for Wilde Lake was headed to the sideline. Feldmesser. Willingham, who is making his 7th attempt to throw the football, has completed only 2. 2 of 7 for 16 yards as that pass was incomplete inside the 30-yard line.
You know, I think if there was some confusion out there on that last play, I doubt if it was Feldmesser. He's a State Athletic Association Minds in Motion athlete. That's where you have to have a 3.25 in season.
Calling that intentional grounding, that pass.
Well, I think there was an intended receiver, and the ball seemed to slip and get away. To call that one and not call the other one, the crowd certainly doesn't like it, and I know that the coaches don't like it either. Coach Duvall better be a little careful here, or they'll bang him again for unsportsmanlike.
4th and 12. There's the punt. Bryan, football running to the far side of the field and gets taken out of bounds at the 29-yard line.
Good coverage there with Paul Knox. He just stayed right in the lane.
Cambridge has averaged 38 points per game. They beat North Garrett 49-0. They've had playoff wins against Brunswick and Northern, and they're trailing in this game to Wild Lake by a score of 17-7 with just 8:46 left to play in the game.
But on the other hand now, Tom, I think Wild Lake has held their opponents on an average in the last several games to about 6.3.
They have 7 shutouts in the last 9 games. Johnson throwing the football and completing it to the left flat. The 32, Gary Bryant. He's taken down at the 36-yard line. Taken down by 5, Don Gibson, and also 29, Craig Butler.
He's a little short of the first down. This is their best looking play this half. Brian had half a sprint out to Brian.
He's got 4 catches for 31 yards. Gain of 8 on that play. Second down and 2 from the 36-yard line for Cambridge.
There's a lot of time. They're not out of this ball game. The way they can score.
Johnson throwing right side and overthrows Gary Bryant. Penalty marker in the backfield at the 30-yard line.
Gary Bryant.
8 minutes to play in the game. Wild Lake 17, Cambridge 7.
Illegal block
Against Cambridge.
And this one they will take. They'll back it up. Dietrich Johnson again. Back to throw. You can see that roll block. That's what they called. And of course the pass was overthrown, incomplete, intended for Gary Bryant.
Tell you what, Cambridge has not had good field position in the second half. They seem like they've gone backwards on a lot of possessions.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. They have not had, they didn't even have good field position on their first possession. Wild Lake's defense has been keeping them in the hole, and the problem is they just haven't been able to advance it. I don't know how many first downs Cambridge has this half, but I don't think it's more than 2.
Johnson to pass. Pressure coming, and he completes the football to Brent Thompson. Thompson taken down at the 20-yard line.
And that's the throwback screen again. That time Chance Kelly, number 7.
That was Torrey Willis, excuse me. 38 instead of 30.
Seems like every time they're in trouble that their key play. There we have a look at Chance Kelly, the senior linebacker that made the stop on that play. Seems as though their favorite out of trouble play is a throwback screen.
3rd and 17 from the 21.
Again, he had trouble on that handoff.
Johnson throwing right down the right sideline. Ball up for grabs and batted away. Looked like number 16, Sean Dunford, for Wild Lake, was able to knock the football away. Double coverage there at the 45-yard line. Also, Paul Knox back on the coverage for Wild Lake.
And Alan Anderson, number 9, was the one that tried to get the ball after it was batted. There we have Coach Duvall telling the kids, watch the fake, whatever you do, don't hit him. There's the fake.
And Gary Bryant taken down at the 28-yard line.
And they'll give you that one all day long.
Only a gain of 7 on the play. And Alan Anderson, along with Sean Dunford, on the hit. Wild Lake gets possession. Excellent field position.
Yeah, I think they've started 3 of their series in the second half inside the Cambridge 30-yard line.
Well, they started at the 30 on one drive, the 38 on another, and the 20-yard line on another.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Now, the Cambridge defense has been asked to do an awful lot.
The 28-yard line. 1st and 10 for Wild Lake. That handoff goes to Casella. Casella inside the 25-yard line. Nate Casella, the real workhorse of this Wild Lake backfield, that operates out of the wishbone.
Well, if we see anything other than off-tackle play to Casella or Green, I'm going to really be surprised. Here we have 18 rushes, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. We don't have his defensive stats up there. He's just been a workhorse on both sides of the ball.
Casella with the 11-yard touchdown run tied the game up. Willingham field goal at 25. Little or no running room there to the 20-yard line.
The important thing, though, the entire center of that offensive line is moving forward, not for a lot of yardage, but it's taken a lot of time off the clock, which now really becomes the enemy of Cambridge South Dorchester, getting down to 5 minutes.
You have 5:40 left to play in the football game. Wild Lake 17, Cambridge 7. Wild Lake with the football, 3rd down and 1. Ball spotted at the 19 of Cambridge. Casella to the 15-yard line. First down.
Again, Tom, no surprises.
Very close to 100 yards now. 98 yards, 19 carries for Nate Casella.
He just had a tremendous amount of support from that offensive line as well.
Marty Aronoff doing a fabulous job keeping us right up to date on these statistics as they happen. Here you go, 5 minutes left to play in this game. Wild Lake 17, Cambridge 7. Wild Lake with a first down, the 15-yard line of Cambridge. Casella again grinding out the yards inside the 15 to about the 13. It'll take another 30 or 40 seconds off the clock by just that short run. It'll bring up a gain of 3 to 2nd down and 7.
Well, Coach Duvall, that's one of his trademarks. It could be snowing and minus 20 wind chill factor, and he'd be out there with his shorts. He has those little bike liners. And the amazing thing is, everybody I know who's ever coached with or for him, even after they've left, they still continue to wear shorts.
Seth Willingham, who has had an excellent day at quarterback, not so much passing, but just doing things well. And Casella, trying to get outside, failed to do so. He was ridden down by 61. Scott Dodson.
But he stayed inbounds and keeps the clock moving.
4 minutes to go in this game.
Give a little credit here, Tom. We have center Cedric Benning, number 50, Jay Green, left tackle, and Eric Locke, right offensive guard. Carlo Gerstenfeld, Josh Feldmesser have just done a tremendous job on that offensive line.
3rd down and 8. Mike Green with the football inside the 15. He's ridden back to the 15-yard line. He was trying to run off the left side of that offensive line for Wild Lake. But again, as you mentioned, these running plays just taking valuable seconds off the clock because Cambridge is trailing by 10 with 3:20 to go. Bill Seward and Mark Savage in on the hit. 4th down and 8.
Timeout. The other thing that happened is on that last running play, it was interesting. It went off tackle left. The ball now is in the center of the field. It's positioned again. If they want to go for a field goal, try to build that lead up. Give them a chance.
Willingham will attempt a field goal from 30 yards out. This is exactly the same length that he made his first point after because of penalties. Nate Casella will hold. Fake. Casella wants to throw. Right side, corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Don Gibson. 30-yard touchdown pass. Nate Casella to Don Gibson. 23-7. Wild Lake with 3:12 to go in the football game.
An absolutely gorgeous play. Of course, the long point after, the other field goal attempt just set it up perfectly. And if you want to talk about the all-round athlete player of the game, both teams, it's got to be number 48, Casella. He's down as the holder. He stands up. He throws wide open to Don Gibson. Touchdown, Wild Lake. 3:12 remaining in the 4th quarter.
From the 10-yard line, the point after attempt is wide to the right side. May have been partially blocked. 3:12 left to play, 23-7 favor of Wilde Lake. I called it a 30-yard touchdown pass. From where he threw it, it was a 30-yard touchdown, but actually the line of scrimmage was a 13-yard line. So it's a 13-yard TD pass. I was just looking from where the ball was spotted for the field goal attempt, right there from the 30.
Yeah, we were looking for the field goal attempt from the 30, but the line of scrimmage was up. And again, just a perfectly thrown. Now here's a guy, he's been tackling people and beating them up all night on defense. He's been in as the workhorse, as the up back in the wishbone. Now he's the holder for the extra point. Look at this spiral. Perfectly on the money to Don Gibson.
Casella, 101 yards rushing and a 13-yard touchdown pass. Is there any question as to who would be the MVP for this game?
I think he's even going to drive the bus on the way home. He's done it all.
Cambridge with the football trying to run. Oh, contact made at the 25-yard line there. Wow. Albert Sasso made the initial hit, but couldn't bring down Bernard Todd.
It was made at the 25 and also at the 28 and heard all the way up here.
3:04 to play. Cambridge has the football. At their own 28-yard line, 1st and 10. Wilde Lake 23-7 over Cambridge. Bronte Stanley wide to the right side. Richard Johnson racing to the right corner. Wraps him up for a sack at the 10-yard line. Just a terrific effort by Nate Casella, who has dominated this game by throwing a touchdown pass, recording a sack, virtually on successive plays, and in addition to that, rushing for 101 yards.
Of course, there's Johnson back to the throw. Casella's up in the air, down, dives at the feet, makes the tackle. This guy's all over the place. He's incredible.
Wilde Lake has 5 sacks for 41 yards.
What a way to go out as a senior. This kid has played the game of his life.
2nd and 24, 14-yard sack. Ball spotted at 9 yards. Absolutely nothing there on that.
Guess who was in on the tackle? Number 48. And
also
number
Eric Locke.
Eric Locke, number 54. Like a pair of bookends.
Time of possession for the game. How about this? Wilde Lake, 28.5 minutes to Cambridge's 15. Minute 15 to play in the game. Ed Massoud will be headed downstairs to do an interview, and I would presume that he's going to talk probably with Nate Casella. 4th down and 38 yards to go for Cambridge, and they'll obviously be punting from their own end zone. Less than a minute to play. Clock continues to roll. 23-7, Wilde Lake. Here's the punt right from the end zone line. End over end, coming out, bouncing at the 30. Picked up by Casella, I believe, and he takes the football to the 25-yard line. Excuse me, Paul Knox. Paul Knox, number 2. Knox limps off a little bit. Only 30 seconds left to play in this one. So the 1A championship is going to belong to Wilde Lake, leading 23-7. And the 30 seconds is counting right now. Casella had 145 yards and a couple of touchdowns last week. And he's been doing the job throughout this entire game. That's going to be the last play of the game. Wildcats jumping up and down. Wilde Lake winning the Division 1A championship, beating Cambridge 23-7 here at Bird Stadium in College Park. Nick Casella's got a lot to talk about tonight. He'll be telling quite a few stories. Casella with a touchdown pass of 13 yards to Don Gibson. He ran for 11 for a score in the first quarter. He also sacked quarterback Dietrich Johnson at least once. Johnson was sacked 5 times. The Wild Lake wins the Division 1A championship 23-7 after Cambridge scored on a 77-yard touchdown. 9:03 left to play in the first quarter. They were shut out the rest of the way. Wild Lake had 168 yards rushing. Cambridge had minus 11 because of the lost yardage on those sacks. We'll be back with Ed Massoud talking with one of the heroes of the game when we continue our coverage here on HTS from Bird Stadium in College Park as Wild Lake beats Cambridge 23-7 to win the 1A Division Championship.
People used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. My father, Louis Rich, thought it should be turkey. He said his turkey was one of the best things you could eat that didn't grow on a tree. And everyone loved the taste. Slow roasted to make it tender and moist. We never called it health food, just good food.
At Louis Rich, great tasting turkey that's up to 97% fat-free is nothing new. It's how we've always done it. Slow roasted, like you would if you had the time.
Every business has its own language.
Part represents the party, the second part.
Under subpart B application.
And at U.S. Air, we understand them all.
Another option would be to option the script that they didn't option. That's an option.
Purely option.
It's why we offer business travelers more flights than any other airline.
8 meg of RAM and 1.2 gigabyte internal hard drive.
Everything we do.
How about these megabytes?
USA begins with you.
Hi, I'm Tom Gugliotta. Each year, the Capital Area Community Food Bank supplies 7 million pounds of food to people in need, but they can't do it alone. This holiday season, team up with HTS, WPGC, and the Bullets to help fight hunger. Just bring a canned good or non-perishable food item to the Capitol Center on Saturday, December 19th, before the Bullets take on Alonzo Mourning and the Charlotte Hornets. Your contribution of a canned good will help make someone's holiday season a little brighter. For more information, call 301-MBA-DUNK.
Cecil Fielder, Roger Clemens, Ozzie Smith, and Ken Griffey Jr. lead an all-star team to the Far East as Major League Baseball's finest battle the best from Japan. A once-in-a-lifetime team that features National and American League superstars and future Hall of Famers. Plus, the game's hottest names like Sierra, Biggio, Grace, and Can. Don't miss a strikeout or homer. The Major League Baseball Japan Tour.
Sunday at 8 p.m. only on HTS.
Welcome back to College Park, Maryland. Bird Stadium, Wild Lake winning the Division 1A championship, beating Cambridge 23-7. And let's go downstairs to Ed Massoud with some of the heroes of the game. Ed?
Yeah, thanks very much, Tom. Here we are with the winning coach, Doug Duvall, Wild Lake Wildcats head coach, 19 years. When you look up on that scoreboard and you see 23-7, you came here with a goal to three-peat, knowing that your good buddy Bob Malloy was the only one to ever do it. Tell me how it feels.
It feels great. It couldn't be any better. The kids had set the goal on August 15th to win the 3rd state championship in a row, and it's through their hard work and the assistant coaches that were here, so it's a great night for Wild Lake.
Well, I know that you guys, Howard County, you're just my neighbors to the north from Montgomery. You kids played a wonderful game. You got several of your co-captains down here, and here's a guy that I understand is interested in maybe going up to my alma mater at Lock Haven. They're after you. You played a tremendous ball game, Nate. What do you feel? How you feel right now?
I feel great. I mean, it's what I've worked for all season. Started August 15th. Worked hard. Day one, it paid off. That's what it's all about.
How many touchdown passes you ever thrown in your high school career?
Well, varsity level, that's my first one.
Okay. One of the things we want to do is just wish you just a tremendous effort that you had for today. Congratulate you on a wonderful season. Doug, it's always good to see you. And I want to throw it back up to Tom, back in the booth. Home Team Sports, this is Ed Massoud with the winning Wildcat from Wild Lake High School.
Thank you.
All right, Ed, we'll be back with some final comments on Wild Lake's victory over Cambridge by a score of 23-7 in just a moment.
Every business has its own language.
Part represents the party, the second part.
Under subpart B application.
And at U.S. Air, we understand them all.
Another option would be to option the script that they didn't option. That's an option.
Purely option.
It's why we offer business travelers more flights than any other airline.
8 meg of RAM and 1.2 gigabyte internal hard drive.
Everything we do.
How about these these megabytes.
USA begins with you.
Just a reminder that kids who participate in high school sports tend to go a little farther than those who don't.
Coverage of the Maryland 1A High School Football Championship was brought to you by Lewis Rich, oven roasted for flavor. Wilde Lake stayed to shine. They wound up with a 23-17 victory over Cambridge. They won the Division 1A championship. And a couple of fumbled kicks, very costly. Wilde Lake just capitalized on many of the turnovers. You know, the kicking game hurt Cambridge. They fumbled twice. Wilde Lake came up with the coverage there. They also had another punt block and tried to run for a first down on another punt and were stopped short. So Wilde Lake scored 3 touchdowns after the special team play. It was messed up. And let's face it, Wilde Lake played extremely well, especially during the second half. Nate Casella with an 11-yard touchdown run. He also threw for a 13-yard scoring pass to Don Gibson. And Seth Willingham with a 25-yard field goal. He also ran for a touchdown of 6 yards. It was 10-7 at the half favor of Wilde Lake, and they go on to a 23-7 victory over Cambridge. So that's the story from Byrd Stadium in College Park. Wilde Lake winning the Division 1A championship, beating Cambridge by a score of 23-7. For Ed Massoud, this is Tom Davis. Thanks for watching from Byrd Stadium in College Park.